Warning, you're about to witness some grown men argue about a Star Wars TV show that's probably for kids, but not until later on. Viewer discretion is advised.
Nute! It's the Gunray. He's causing terror across the galaxy with his Trade Federation once again. First off, all by turning one of Padme's oldest friends against her and trapping her against her own will, to the point that Jar Jar has to come and rescue her. Even after the Gunray gets captured, Jedi Luminara and Ahsoka transport him to the Republic, only until Ventress and a traitor come to rescue him and put a hole in the Republic. With sending Kit Fisto and his old apprentice out to find him, they fall into a trap that lurks them to the home of a vicious villain. Come with us and explore the beauty of Star Wars The Clone Wars with Patric, Colin, and Seth on the one and only Cantina Cuisine. Welcome back to the Cantina Cuisine as the ranks are growing here. We have added another 33% of hosts for this episode, so we're going to hope it comes along with 33% of listeners, and not the 33% of listeners stop listening. That will determine whether they longer or not. But we are up to story arc number 7 here. Boy, time is flying by, especially when we do it every 2 weeks. Even though we don't record these every 2 weeks. We're up to the Nute Gunray Arc, and this was right smack dab in the middle of Season 1. These are episodes 8, 9, and 10 of Season 1 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. And these are wildly different episodes in tone. They're still playing around with the format, which I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited to just talk about how different this is, even though it may not be what, I think a lot of people would look back on as the best stuff they ever had. Let's get into it. My name is Colin, and contrary to your belief, I do have other things to do.
And my name is Patrick. In trouble? Me? Really?
And my name is Seth, and droids? No. Jar Jar? Jar Jar.
Probably the funniest part of all 3 of these episodes. Yeah. Let's actually, I'll hijack here. Let's get into. So, Patrick, you did say at the 2 weeks ago, when we last left the listeners, that we might be joined by a special guest next week, and I completely forgot about that until literally we were about to record and said, "Oh, before you start, we might have a special guest." And I see Seth come up. But of course, we're all related.
Yes.
I'm the uncle. Patrick, you're the nephew. Seth, you're the other nephew. You are child number 3. Patrick is 1 year 3. But unlike, most things like sequels, I guess you're the Revenge of the Sith of this family.
I don't want to be Phantom Menace, no.
They get better.
I don't want to be Phantom Menace. I don't.
Seth, thank you so much for joining us. You're one of the Star Wars nerds that I helped groom here. So I don't know, you want to give a quick introduction to what drew you towards doing this?
Well, my name is Seth, as I said before. Really, what drew me into this is that just one time me and Patrick were talking about, and he mentioned that he was going through the Clone Wars, and it was like, this would be fun to go back through my childhood and to go through it and just relive memories, because it's like, I remember all the arcs and whatnot, but it's like, I don't remember where they are and whatnot. And it's like, what episodes are connected to what episodes and whatnot, and so it's like, I'm just reliving my memories and whatnot.
Yeah, that is the cool thing about doing this, like even for me, because I've never watched this in what's supposed to be the chronological order, and that's what I've been kind of saying week by week is kind of fun to do this. We're of course in that point in the show now where they're like, we're just going to start telling it chronologically for a little bit, and then we'll get back to this back and forth thing later on. But unlike you guys, I'm not reliving my childhood. I'm reliving my 20s here as we go through the show. But let's talk a little bit about this story arc, the Nute Gunray arc. I think I always disassociate Bombad Jedi from the other ones. And it's not until you sit down and you look at this is what comprises the arc, you're like, oh, wait, I guess it did technically start there. But to be really honest, I mean, I kind of ended the last episode by saying, like, yeah, Bombad Jedi is very different when we get after that. I would say all three of these have a very distinct tone. And
Yeah.
I watched some of the making ofs and I broke down some of what I was picking up on is what they were going for was very specific genres and very specific type of storytelling they want to do. But Patric, you want to start some of your thoughts on this Nute Gunray arc?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. Welcome, Seth. I'm very happy that we are able to come up to a 5-year contract with you. We'll have to figure out what we're gonna do after that. As a part for Nute Gunray, screw Nute Gunray because he came from Phantom Menace. I'm not a big fan of Phantom Menace at all.
no.
So, uh,
Just stop ranting and get to the point.
okay. I will say I love the fact that they kept Nute Gunray's character into this. Like they switched all the voice actors. Actually, did they switch Nute Gunray's actor? I actually don't know because it sounds very similar to Phantom Menace.
Yeah, you know, I'll have to research that. Continue to talk.
Okay, because he does sound very similar. That's what I like about most of the Clone Wars. I say most because there's some exceptions, but I do like the fact that we get the same Nute Gunray from the Phantom Menace as we do here. Same style, same quirkiness that he has, same like making fun of the Jedi as he always does. And just the way that his character is, like, I don't mind his character, but just the way that we get to the center around here in this plot is kind of like a cartoonish, like, oh shoot, what's the term for it? When it's
Cartoon?
no, like the cartoon stereotype, like filler episodes. Like this is the literal definition of filler episodes. But there are some good filler episodes here in this arc. And then there's one that we don't really like to talk about because of a certain character. But it's, again, like you said, Bombad Jedi gets thrown into the dust here because it's just one of those episodes that we all look very not so fondly upon. But there is...
I like the episode.
Me too.
So it's just Patric.
I'm the only one that doesn't... Okay. Good grief. I am so... this is a bad idea. I'm kicking you out, Seth, now. I am...
What, do you not like being a majority?
Yeah.
Minority. He's very much the minority.
Yeah.
When me and Colin were here together, we were like 50%, 50%. So it was like, okay, I feel at least a little bit good for having the opinion. But now I'm like 33% to 66. So I'm just like...
Well, Seth, I didn't know your opinions on, like Jar Jar and stuff like that. So I'm glad you're kind of here to back me up because I've sort of been saying I'm of the opinion that like Jar Jar, there's definitely times where maybe they went a little bit too far with him in the Phantom Menace, but it was done for a certain demographic, and I think that they did it fairly well at moments in the movies. And I remember when this episode originally aired, and even though this is, I think it is the lowest ranked episode of the season on IMDb, it's still a 6 out of 10. It's not terrible. I remember when this came out, a lot of people were like, you know what? I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I think that they've done right by Jar Jar. So, Seth, what are some of your opinions on, I guess, this trilogy of episodes?
I mean, going back to what you're saying about Jar Jar, I was like, when George Lucas made him for the Phantom Menace, he poured so much love and care into it. But the problem was, it was like everyone saw it. It was like there was too much Jar Jar. Out of all the characters in the movie, Jar Jar was hands down in most of the movie. It practically was about Jar Jar. And so in this episode, I actually kind of found it a lot more relieving because it's like it's not just Jar Jar in every single shot and whatnot. Although it still gets the like comic relief and the stupidity of Jar Jar.
Yeah, I actually just did look it up. So I never knew the actor who portrayed Nute Gunray in the movies is Silas Carson, who he appears as multiple characters. Like he's also Ki-Adi-Mundi, the Jedi with the cone head.
Really? Okay, that's
he's
pretty cool.
Lot Dodd, the Nemoidian senator. He's even the pilot, the human pilot at the beginning of the Phantom Menace that says, "Captain, look!" right before the ship blows up. So he's an actor appears, but I never realized he did the voice as well. And unless IMDb's lying, he's the voice. Here in the Clone Wars, though, it's actually Tom Kane who did the voice, who's most well known as the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants. But he is one of the most frequently appearing characters, or I guess voice actors on the Clone Wars, the TV series. He does tons of voices throughout the course of this series, but he does an incredible job of duplicating the voice. You're right about that. I'm going to kind of jump into it here because we got a lot of ground to cover.
Oh yeah, we do.
First, I just want to say, Bombad Jedi, in no way is this the best or deepest episode of the series, but
No.
I feel like even in comparison to the other Jar Jar episode we covered, which took obviously aired at a later date, this is the first one they worked on. Like, I feel like they got it. And in the making ofs that I watched, Dave Filoni and Henry Gilroy, who's the supervising writer on the show, they had said this was sort of George Lucas's orders. He says, "I want Jar Jar on the show." And they were like, okay, well, I guess if there's anywhere to fit him in, it's going to be in a cartoon. But they really did want to, similar to what you were saying, Seth, like George Lucas did have all the right intentions with Jar Jar. He really did care about making this a likable character, but it's just, it was too much. And I always said with the live action movies that, particularly with the Phantom Menace, the issue is not even necessarily all the screen time Jar Jar has where he's talking and bumbling and stuff like that. It's the fact that whenever he's in the background, he's always just a little bit too obvious, you know? But it's the right amount of Jar Jar in this episode. And strangely enough, it actually kind of fits the episode itself. First of all, the opening quote, "Heroes are made by the times." The opening, I guess, what would you call it? Monologue, newsreel footage, talking about the Rhodia, which of course Rhodians are Greedo's species. Most people know them as. This is a mission to that planet. And this entire episode, I'm going to call it a bit of a, not plot hole, but a bit of a stretch that this is a planet that has somehow been forgotten because this senator, what was it, Anaconda Farr, this is a character that appeared in both Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith as part of Palpatine's Loyalist Committee. He has that small committee, which includes Padme and Bail Organa, which is like, these are my closest advisors for us making our plans. And he is that same character who's there. So it's hard to believe that one of the senators who is closest to Palpatine would somehow be ostracized and have to be asking for aid or not being given aid. Obviously, Palpatine has other motives and everything. You look like you want to say something, Patrick.
Well, I mean, we also have that. I remember there was an episode later on in the Clone Wars. I forget where it was, but it was the same species as Greedo, but the female was trying to murder one of the people. I don't know if it was Padme or if it was him.
Well,
I don't remember which episode it was, but I do remember he did appear in there. He was a major character in it.
Yeah, we get Anaconda Farr back in a very important episode coming up later on.
I just don't remember where it was. I'm honestly, like, I'm very mad that I don't remember where it was because I actually liked that episode. Let me try to find it, actually.
I'm actually looking for that right now.
Okay.
Let's see here. Stalling for time. He wasn't in the what do you want to call it? The Mandalore arc, was he?
Was he in the Mandalore arc? I don't think it was in the Mandalore arc. Was it?
I don't think so.
I don't remember it being in the Mandalore arc. No, that episode would definitely not be in the Mandalore arc because it was mostly about Padme and about Coruscant in general.
Well, we'll find it. Anyways,
let me take a look while you do your usual
this
thing.
plot, though, that somehow they've been forgotten doesn't make sense. But we're basically getting the same thing here. We got an ambush when we were in Toydaria, where you're vying for who's going to help us, who we're going to go with. And Padme is saying, "We will help you. We haven't gotten you your supplies and your aid yet." He says, "Well, Nute Gunray just offered it to me, so there you go. You're under arrest." And that's basically the setup for the episode. I do love that Padme again forgets to bring any type of escort. Like, they even say you really should have brought a clone escort. What about Captain Typho? Like, this was like the major thing in Revenge of the Sith when she goes to find Anakin is Typho's making a big deal. I would really be more comfortable if I came along. She goes, "This is one time I have to go by myself." I think she always goes by herself. It's just her and 3PO.
Literally.
It's very far-fetched that she's doing this on her own. But again, in an episode like this, it's fine. She has Jar Jar, so that has to be going to more something. Also, I don't know if either of you know this trivia. The button that Jar Jar presses that stalls the ship, that is the button that does everything. And I don't know if either of you are familiar with this trivia, but in Attack of the Clones, they press a button, which is basically to start the ship, and then they, or it's to relay the message. When Obi-Wan's getting his message, retransmit this message to Coruscant. She presses that button, and then later in the same scene, she presses the exact same button to show where Geonosis is on a map. And Star Wars fans kind of pick that up as a bit of a hole, and they're like, "This is the button that does everything." And George Lucas likes to pick up on those things, like a stormtrooper hitting his head. He's going to work that in Jango Fett. So in Revenge of the Sith, when Padme starts that ship, she presses the same button that does everything. That is the button Jar Jar presses to stall the ship. So this button that does everything on Padme's ship is used multiple times throughout this. I do love that we get this domed city on Roidia. That was one of the George Lucas's contributions when they kind of come up with this swamp-like planet. George Lucas said, the one thing is I just want it to be a domed city. It's just a visual that he had in mind, so they added that. And I love that she calls him Uncle Ono. Like, so we already know that they are on the same loyalist committee, but then we get this backstory, which is one of the things Clone Wars is so good at, adding in there that no, once upon a time, Padme's father was a senator, and that this was one of his closest allies, and which is something I don't think I had ever said before this. They say that they're starving here, so Nute Gunray is going to give them the supplies. We get the droids basically surrounding Padme and everything, and that's why you bring security, Padme. 3PO, I love this thing where the swamp dwellers, where he's talking back and forth.
Yeah.
What are they saying? It's like, I could not possibly repeat it. It's very rude, though. We have the droids coming again, and Jar Jar basically locks them out. 3PO ends up getting attached to a giant magnet, which is one of the more amusing things of this episode. These crab droids show up, this is the thing where Jar Jar ends up falling after he released them, and he's, oh no, Jar Jar is dead. So when I was listening to that, I'm like, they are totally trolling the fans right now, because people always said, oh, just kill Jar Jar, just kill Jar Jar. There is even theories where it's like, Revenge of the Sith, they're definitely going to kill Jar Jar, and then they didn't. They have him literally mourning when Padme dies. Spoiler if anybody hasn't seen Revenge of the Sith, why are you listening to this? But them saying Jar Jar is dead, I'm like, they're trolling the fans. And when I watched the making of later on, they said, we had a lot of fun in this episode writing things that would be kind of teasing those fans who hated Jar Jar. We wanted to play up on that Jar Jar hatred and have a little bit of fun with it. And that's one of those. So they basically confirm that's what that's there for. So when he drops 3PO and it appears again, and then the magnet accidentally crushes the ship. There's the button that's the only button that's still working there is what he's able to press. And that's what now the button that does everything opens Anakin's secret closet. Now, this is the one thing that I don't think many people have talked about, but I remember seeing this and being like, oh, Anakin's got like a secret closet. It's like, you go over to your girlfriend's house and you have like your own drawer for your socks or your toothbrush there or something. And this is Anakin's robe drawer, because why else does she have Jedi robes on a ship? Does it match Anakin's robes? No, because it's more of a cape than a robe. But still, it's cool that he's got secret clothes, and they never address that in this episode. We have the line here about I have a very bad feeling about this, which comes from 3PO this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this thing where Jar Jar's being chased by the droids, and he basically disappears, falling through like a crack in the ground, and disappears underwater. Now, did either of you think that this was an homage to A New Hope when you watched it?
Do you mean when they
never-
went through the vent to go into the garbage thing?
No. So what this actually is, and this is what's funny about it. I had read that trivia after I watched the episode, before I watched the making of, where it said this is an homage to Obi-Wan when he disappears when Vader goes to strike him, and you're left only with his robes.
Oh yeah, I see that. I see that.
See, when you hear it, you see it.
I never caught that till you said that. Yeah.
In the making of, Dave Filoni and Henry Gilroy are talking about, we had this great idea where we wanted it to be like Obi-Wan's robes disappearing, and Dave Filoni literally turns to Henry Gilroy and said, I really don't think we pulled it off. So even they know it's like, no, we did not make that obvious enough, but that is what it's actually meant to be there for. We get Padme. This is, I think, one of the more fun moments we have with Padme. And again, it's consistent with her character. She's always got her lock picking set. I mean, your guy's other brother, this would be him in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
He's got something to pick a lock. And I love that she's miming like, oh, Mr. Jedi, thank you for saving me, which is, it's so fun. It's not too over the top comedy. It's still so fun. But she basically escapes. The droids come in and say, where is she? Now, this is the most far-fetched thing in the episode. She does like a crescent kick and takes out a battle droid. Now, I know battle droids, they kind of move flimsy and everything, but they are made of steel. Now, I don't know if either of you have either tried to break something down that is metal. I've had chairs that have broken, just aluminum chairs. And I will take it outside. I'm like, this isn't going to fit in my garbage bin. I mean, I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but you get like a certain size garbage bin.
Yeah.
And anything that's over that, you have to pay to have removed. So I'm like, I'm just going to break this thing down. I have broken chairs that are nothing more than aluminum. And if you're hitting it in the wrong spot, it's like, oh, and I don't believe that Padme is doing spin kicks to a droid and knocking them out and not breaking her ankle or shattering her foot in the process. But still, it's I guess just a cartoon, right?
Well, I mean, we covered like in the Clone Wars movie when Cody was just punching droids all of a sudden. So
And
I
he
don't
had
know.
armor. This is barefoot, almost, right?
And then we get the other clone who is like not Cody. He punches him, and then he just like feels pain, like ah.
Well, he punched a super battle droid, so.
No, he didn't. He punched a regular droid. I thought.
Oh, and I'm thinking of a different one who just grabbed their blaster and hit a super battle droid, and then
No, that was
ended up
Cody.
getting shot.
No,
I know Padme's tough, but she's got no protection against
no,
that.
absolutely not.
No.
So 3PO does say something here, which I'm not going to say this is a flaw. They never established when he developed these 6 million forms of communication, but he never says those lines in the prequel trilogy. So I always assume that was one of the things George Lucas wanted to save for. He assimilated all those things in between because he's essentially made to be a butler. And even in Revenge of the Sith, George Lucas said, I thought it would be fun in Revenge of the Sith to see him doing what a protocol droid is supposed to do, which is essentially being a butler. So I don't believe that he's supposed to have those 6 million forms of communication yet, but yet he does say it here. So technically, I guess he does. And this is that scene where they're talking about the battle droids. And it's like, battle droids? No. Jar Jar? Yes, Jar Jar.
Jar Jar.
It's really, and I was kind of arguing this point when we did the other Jar Jar episode, Patrick, which I didn't think was a great episode, but I'm like, some of the Jar Jar comedy, especially when it's people playing off of Jar Jar, is really funny, I thought one of the mistakes they made in the Phantom Menace with Jar Jar is whenever Jar Jar would go really crazy, people wouldn't respond to it in a comical way. They'd respond to it and just kind of like roll their eyes. But like, this is how you play off of somebody like Jar Jar. You have people talk about, it's Jar Jar again, So now we have the Nute Gunray scene with Senator Farr, where he's like, okay, so when are the supplies coming? They'll come once Padme has been executed. And this is Nute Gunray's story arc throughout the entire trilogy. I just want Padme dead. You got to wonder, if somebody had actually killed Padme, would he have even been involved in this war? Probably not. No. But we have this line here, which was really good. It's like, I think that was rather clever, which I thought that was pretty good. And then 3PO basically calling on the restricted channel. This is a restricted channel. I love they left this open-ended. You think that they're going to, no, this isn't for droids, it's a restricted channel. And they just cut it off. So you're like, oh, he's not going to get through. Of course, the twist in the end is that he does get through. We got this underwater stuff, which this slug monster. Now, when I was saying different genres, I was kind of looking at this as like, this is like your old fairy tale is what it is. Because Jar Jar is the fish out of water. He's not meant to be like the knight, but he basically has to pretend to be the knight and go in and save the senator in this case. And the one thing I didn't even click with was this monster. And they talk about that in the making of it. They're like, this was meant to be like the fairy tale of the knight having to come in. Jar Jar puts on his armor, his robes, right? He has to pretend to be a knight. He has to learn how to be a hero. And this is, there's always a dragon in those stories. And this monster, this slug monster underwater, was meant to be the dragon. He's taming the dragon, which I'm like, oh, that's kind of clever. A little bit more clever than the robes disappearing, I guess.
So it's just Shrek, but Star Wars.
Basically, yes. And Padme doesn't turn into a Gungan at the end. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So we do have this moment where the slug monster basically spits Jar Jar out, and you get that they're just kind of made friends with each other. I do find it weird that Jar Jar can speak very clearly underwater. Oh, Misa, so thankful you spitted me out. It should just be bubbles like. I don't believe that he is able to speak that clearly underwater. But again, it's a cartoon. We have the moment with 3PO where he says, I'm a protocol droid on a diplomatic mission. They cut him off, which is basically Princess Leia's line in A New Hope. And then we get the slug monster attacking. We have Senator Farr basically refusing to shoot Padme in the end. And then Padme kind of coming up with this thing to help him save face. Like, why don't you tell Nute Gunray that this was the plan all along, that you were going to go along with it so that we could capture him? Yes, brilliant plan it was. And then the clone army comes in because 3PO managed to get the call through, saves the day. There's this weird moment at the end where we always have the ending pose, and all of a sudden you see the slug monster just pop up at the very last second, like, bro, like almost posing for the camera, which is kind of funny, but a little bit odd. But Patrick, you want to go first? Any thoughts that I haven't covered on this episode?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I found the episode. It is season 2, episode 15, called Senate Murderers. So this is Anaconda being murdered on the scene. So the episode's actually like a little bit of a murder mystery kind of thing.
And that was another Padme episode, yeah. So
it was a mostly Padme episode, along with the people, like the Palpatine's closest allies.
Yeah, loyalist committee.
Lowest community, exactly. And we'll get that in story arc number 21. So we're very deep into that. But yeah, let's talk about the story arc. I love the line where Palps is on the is in the
Alps. We're on
Palps.
a nickname
Palps,
basis.
I couldn't spell.
Palps,
I couldn't
Palps.
spell.
Palps.
I couldn't spell Palpatine for some reason, so I just said Palps. I
That-
love
that
Then
is
just say Palpatine then.
Okay,
Eh,
well, I couldn't spell Palpatine on my
But
notes.
you know
I'm just
what?
reading off my notes. Okay.
I like thinking that Senator Farr and Senator Padme, when they're behind closed doors, like, so Palps. I was thinking about in a Senate hearing or whatever. They're never going to do that. It's like people would probably call like it was what is it, Bill Clinton Willie or something like that. I don't know what would people call Justin Trudeau, blackface. I don't know. They call him something, but yeah.
Thank goodness he's gone, and thank goodness we have an election coming up.
Let's not get political here.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
we
we're
got
only talking about
political-
Star Wars, I guess.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Well,
but no, I like Palps. I'm going with Palps as his nickname.
Okay, so that's another new word to add to the dictionary, fellas. So I'll just let you know about that. I think we're on word 14 or something. I have to go back and look at that up. But anyway, so when we were in Padme's ship when he's coming to the planet, I love when Palpatine is saying only those qualified should be going to the negotiations because Jar Jar was about to speak and he just tripped over himself. Like I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We also get a little bit of a hint about pirates in this episode. We get a little bit of a line from Avocado, and I think we're actually gonna get a pirates arc next week. So
Yeah, well, 2 weeks for us, but
2 weeks So
which can I just quickly interject here?
Yeah.
I feel like they did plant those little seeds because we were wondering. It might have even been it was either the Toydaria arc or the Christophsis one that they mentioned. Master Luminara is not quite available yet. And then we're going to get Luminara literally in 5 minutes. We're going to talk about it here. So, yeah, I think that they were sort of planting seeds for things that were going to come later on by mentioning that.
Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. And especially when we get to the pirate scene, like, I think we can all at least agree that we all love Hondo. So we'll get there when we get there.
That good old scumbag.
Yeah.
Exactly. When Jar Jar falls off the cliff, the first time, 3PO when he's on the Magna, I love that he said that, poor Jar Jar, I knew that something would happen like this. So he's just predicting, everyone's predicting that Jar Jar is going to be dead, just like your fan theories, Colin. Then we get that line where Padme finds out that the ship is gone, and then we get the battle droids. No, Jar Jar. I love that line so much. There was a misfit comment by some sort. I forgot what it was, but I just wrote this down this morning. I forgot where it was taking place. And I will say that it's a little bit of a stupid way to end the episode. I understand that Padme's trying to cover Avocado's butt here, but like, it's still stupid. Like, this is a plan all along, and you were following along with it to capture Nute Gunray. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was actually. We get the line later where Padme's like, you have to apologize to the Senate and ask them for mercy. So it's like a little bit of a stupid way to cover his butt. But I mean, like, the whole episode is just basically a diss against Jar Jar, and I love it for it. And again, like you said, it's not the best episode, but just the fact that we have an episode just to diss Jar Jar, because I felt like that Jar Jar got like murdered in this episode by like all the lines of dialogue from everybody, from all the situations, from all his clumsiness, just to get at the end where Palpatine finally recognizes him as an actual person. So, Seth, do you have anything to add on this episode that you liked or either disliked? Or maybe talk about ships. You actually like ships. Is there anything that we can comment on here?
The button that does
ships?
everything?
I mean, not exactly for that ship, but when the Venator class Star Destroyer first came in, and it was like because in the next episode, then it's like you see how there's another Venator and like they're using a boarding shuttle, and so it's like some people like that I've read on the internet, it's like, why would they do that? He was already on a Venator, and then it was like, but what most people don't know is that the first one was a first generation Venator class Star Destroyer, and that the other one was a second generation, because in the episode it says about how it was like they sent the Senate Royal Guard to make sure that he wasn't going to get away.
I just sent you both something. If you want to check your Instagram when you have a chance.
I will check it out right now, actually.
That's funny. That's
I,
funny.
I checked you. Oh.
It's basically a cartoon of Luke and Anakin. They're cutting the legs off the cake, or Obi-Wan and cutting all the legs off of Anakin on the cake.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. Give us a little bit of thought on Jar Jar here, Seth. A Jar Jar centered episode, is that out of place in this show? Is it just cheap fun? Are you okay with cheap fun?
Well, I feel like there's like in some shows, especially animated shows, it's like you need that little bit of comedy and
Mhm.
whatnot, and just stupidity. It's like
Yeah,
you think
it's a
about
break.
if you think about any animation show, it was like Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Mm.
Clone Wars. I'm forgetting animated shows.
Legend of Korra,
Legend of Korra. There's like
Rebels.
Rebels. And it's like there's always that one dumb, stupid character to
Yeah.
kind of just like offset the serious tone and to just have a little more fun and to like kind of attract that younger audience that it's set towards.
Well,
So
you
I
know
feel
what?
like so
I'm just gonna interject here because you mentioned Avatar, which of course this is what Dave Filoni came from. Didn't that show have an episode that was focused just entirely on Appa and Momo? I swear there was an
uh
episode that was just showing where they were when they were
maybe
lost. There must
I
have been.
think so.
Yeah, and again, just you have that relief that we're gonna take a break for a minute, not get too heavy and everything. So yeah, you're completely right on that.
Yeah.
So we're into the
Uh,
next episode. We're into the next episode. Now, this is where I'm really excited because there hasn't really been a point yet where I've been surprised through this rewatch. I kind of knew coming in. I love the Malevolence story arc. I love the Christophsis one. I wasn't as crazy on R2 Lost. I'm not going to be as crazy on the ones in the next couple episodes we're going to cover. But I did not remember Cloak of Darkness being this good. Now we're kind of not revealing it week by week. We're ranking the story arcs week by week. So there's an assignment for you, Seth, before we come back in 2 weeks to rank the story arcs we've done so far, and then we can have it as a running tally. But I'm going to spoil one thing right now. This will be 16 episodes we have watched. This is a top 5 episode for me. Like Cloak of Darkness.
Really? I have the
blew
other
me
one
away.
as a top 5.
Oh, no, this one blew me away. And the way that the first one is kind of like a fairy tale, save the princess, become the knight, the dragon and all that.
Yeah.
This one here is just like, it's like, I don't know if either of you have heard of Assault on Precinct 13. It was a John Carpenter who made the Halloween movie, The Fog. He was like a horror director, but his breakthrough movie was this movie called Assault on Precinct 13, which was super low budget 70s movie, just about a police station that was basically assaulted by a bunch of gang members. And they had nobody there protecting them. It was a police station that was being decommissioned that day. So you have like 2 or 3 officers, a bunch of prisoners that are getting ready to be transported, and then a bunch of gang members who are just unloading machine guns and trying to storm this thing. And to me, this was like, an old school, low budget action movie like Assault on Precinct 13. First bit of trivia I'm just going to give you here. This is Dave Filoni directing this one, which I think he directed the Clone Wars movie, or at least part of it. He gets the official director's credit on this. And I'm going to give you the name Paul Dini here. You were talking about like other cartoons, Seth. Paul Dini is like one of the all-time legends of animated television writing. He got his break in 80s animated shows like He-Man and the Masters Universe, and actually he wrote for both the original Droids animated series in the 80s and the Ewoks animated series in the 80s, but he really took off in the early 90s as one of the head writers on the Batman animated series. And even the DC movies, those early DC animated movies like Mask of the Phantasm and stuff like that, he was a writer for those. Paul Dini came back to Star Wars basically to write this episode, and he wrote several more after this. And this guy's amazing. There's a comic book that I have where it's a graphic novel he wrote, because Paul Dini in real life, this has nothing to do with Star Wars, but just to show you like how great of a writer this is, how clever he is. He, while he was making Batman, the animated series, and the Mask of the Phantasm Batman animated movie, he actually got mugged and he got beaten up severely in public. And he decided, as a therapeutic way of getting over the trauma of basically being attacked and mugged, is he wrote a graphic novel about him being attacked and mugged and wrote Batman into it. So it's kind of this autobiographical graphic novel involving Batman and him and his real story. It was just amazing. So if anyone wants to check out something Paul Dini did, I would recommend that. G.I. Joe was one of the other big things that he wrote back in the day. So you guys have probably watched a lot of Paul Dini stories before. The other thing that's exciting about this is this Luminara story, as you mentioned. Now, I had kind of teased, I think last episode, that I'm a huge Luminara fan. I was a huge Luminara fan before the Clone Wars series because she was one of the few side Jedi that had been explored in novels. Particularly before Attack of the Clones came out, one of the great marketing gimmicks they had was they had what was called a tie-in novel, which was basically this is the prequel to Attack of the Clones, and it was released before the movie. And Attack of the Clones came out. My throat's very dry here. I'm in a dry basement here. Attack of the Clones came out in May. In March, they released the book, The Approaching Storm, which was this is the prequel, and I got that for my birthday. I think it might have been a pitch-in gift that both your grandma, my mom, and your uncle Ian decided to basically, this is hardcover. Let's pitch in our money and let's get him this book. And it was basically the line that they have when they're first discussing who should protect Padme at the beginning of Attack of the Clones, and they say, "Oh, Obi-Wan's just come back from a border dispute on Ancion." It's that story. It also involves, you kind of see the formation of all the different separatist groups, the Techno-Union Army, the Banking Clan and everything, the Trade Federation. But Luminara and Barriss Offee are introducing that in a novel. So they were very well-developed characters in the novel before the series. Obviously we just sort of see her in the background of the movies and everything. And she did have an episode in the original Clone Wars animated micro series as well. But I think they do an incredible job with her character in this episode. And the one thing I really want to pinpoint is the animation. The facial animation for Luminara might be the best we've seen in season 1 so far. Right opposite, the worst animation we have seen in season 1 so far for this Republic Commando, or the traitor character that we get here, Argus or whatever his name is, who, by the way, is voiced by James Marsters, who most people know from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, but he's a British actor, and he was on Smallville. He played Brainiac on Smallville. So I'm familiar with him as an actor. I didn't realize this is his voice, but wow, is there a big discrepancy between the animation we get for Luminara standing opposite this guy who looks like he's in a video game from 1996. I don't know what was up with that.
I mean, where was the production code with this one? Like, where was it amongst the other episodes?
That is a very good question.
Because what was the Duel of the Droids? Because we were complaining a lot about the animation of that one, and that was really
like number 2.
On.
Yeah. So Seth, to kind of explain, the production codes is the order they produce these things in, which is not always meant to be. This was meant to be like Downfall of a Droid was not meant to be episode 2 of the series, but that was the second episode that they produced and animated. So we see some things very different, like Tom Kane's opening narration is very different in that. It's subdued, and the animation, for some of the characters wasn't quite there yet. So this was actually a production code number 10. So Cloak of Darkness is basically exactly where it airs. They were 10 episodes in at this point. But yeah, that one character just did not work out. By the way, one other trivia thing I actually forgot on Bombad Jedi, the original storyline was supposed to involve Quinlan Vos, which I think fans of the comic books will know Quinlan Vos. Quinlan Vos was mentioned in Revenge of the Sith, the movie.
Yeah, I've heard that name before. I just don't know who he is.
But they had wanted to include him, and the idea was going to be that when Jar Jar was kind of appearing as the Jedi, that he was actually going to be using the Force to control Jar Jar to fight off all the droids. But they're like, this is too complicated. It's going to add too much time to the episode, so they cut Quinlan Vos there. But no, so on this one, we have this guy, which I feel like was just a character they threw in at the last minute. The one thing, not just the animation, even the character itself, is like, yeah, you probably could have done without this. For whatever reason, I'm going to give another nickname here because my autocorrect corrected Gunray's name in this episode every time to Funray. So he is going to be Nute Funray in this episode. I like to
Nute Front. We like Nute Funray. We love
Luminara and Ahsoka are basically the escort now, and not only are we changing tones in the episode, we're gonna have different characters fronting every single one of these episodes, which is different from most of the story arcs we're gonna get. Yeah. Nute Funray is basically trying to bribe them. He's either trying to bribe or seduce the clones. I couldn't quite figure out which one he was doing.
He was trying to bribe them.
I put it as seduce.
Yeah, I'll make it worth your while, Captain, whatever your name is. Yeah, so we have Darth Sidious, who basically appears before Dooku. So Sidious is tasking Dooku, who then tasks Ventress. Uh, Basically, Sidious is like, Count Dooku, you need to rescue Nute Gunray before he gives us all our secrets. And he's like, it will be done, my lord. And then he turns like, Asajj Ventress, you must capture Nute Gunray before he gives us all the secrets. I would have loved if they just continue that on and Ventress is turned into somebody else. He's like, I need you to take care of Nute Gunray before he gives us all our secrets. I do love this line here, though, when Dooku is basically telling Sidious, I'm going to have Ventress on this. And he goes, that is an operative that has failed us before, which this is the first time we're really getting this consistency with the character where it's like she hasn't really helped them all that much throughout this series so far. But basically we get Luminara, we get the first little bit of what her character is, and that's that she's sort of the master interrogator. So the reason she's here is not because she's such a skilled Jedi, even though she is. She's an interrogator. She's somebody who I will get information out of this guy, which kind of gives a little bit of a sinister side to her character. But I love during the interrogation, the Ahsoka goes all bad cop here. You're going to tell me what we want to know or I'll gut you like a Rokarian dirtfish, which is something I've never heard of before, but it sounds very vicious. I love Luminara, who's basically saying, Ahsoka, the anger is not the way of the Jedi. And she's like, it's all an act. It's just meant to get it. It's like, well, still, I don't think it's a good idea. And then all of a sudden, Gunray in the background, like, maybe I will talk. I'm kind of scared of the little girl there. We get these really cool drill droids, which I don't know if they have a name. The ones that kind of drill into the ship. Patric, I know you've said you haven't seen it. I don't know, Seth, have you ever seen the Matrix movies?
I've seen the first one.
Okay, so you're familiar with the Sentinels, which are basically the robot the robots things that will attack the ships and everything and drill into them. These kind of remind me of the Matrix like Sentinels here that drill into the ship and then they drop the other things in there, and they drop Asajj Ventress in there, which is very cool. And this episode we get a different side of Asajj Ventress. We get her as basically like she is a spy. You know, I am going to go in there. I'm going to sneak around. We get the incredible scene where she's basically ducking around in the shadows. And the way they did that with like the subtlest sound effects was so effective when there's that little patrol droid and she keeps popping in and out around it and then going up into the ventilation shaft. But Luminara, basically, when this attack happens, she leaves Ahsoka because she doesn't trust her. I'm going to leave you to guard. I'm going to come back to this when we get to the next episode because I feel like the one thing that really connects these episodes well is what they do with Ahsoka and what they're going to do with another character in the next episode. Yeah. We have this line here where they basically say to her, maybe they're here to make sure you don't talk. And I love Nute Gunray's like, maybe. Because at first like, aha, they're here to save me. And then she's like, oh, or maybe they're here to kill you because they don't want you talking. Like, that's a very strong possibility as well. I love this one moment here where they see Asajj Ventress. It's like, all units, there's a bald. And then we get this droid, this little patrol droid who has the name 327, which he corrects as 327T, like as if droids should have a nickname. I just love that a droid's idea of giving himself a nickname like Rex or something like that is going to be, I'm going to add a number or a letter to the end. It's a very, I don't know if it's a joke that completely lands and most people realize it's a joke, but I think it's funny. 327 is, of course, next to 1138, the other number that appears in almost everything Star Wars media. You know, you had the Millennium Falcon was, docking bay 327 or something, I think they said. And the J-type 327 Nubium is what the Padme ship is in the Phantom Menace. You know, there's always a 327 in all these Star Wars. We get Luminara kind of sneaking in and dropping in, and I love that thing where she just kind of drops in. If it isn't the hairless harpy is the name that she has for her. There's a lot of like trash talk going around this episode, or this is Ahsoka, sorry, not Luminara here. And then we get Asajj Ventress like, if it isn't Anakin's filthy, obnoxious little pet, they're really good together. Like I love this is the other thing I really love in this episode is because they now actually kind of know each other. It's like they have a dynamic where they can play off each other, and it's fun, but it's also it's a little bit sinister here.
Yeah.
Luminara basically wanted to do this whole thing alone, and now Ahsoka's basically saying it's like, oh, but she needs my help or whatever. We get this moment with Luminara. Oh, sorry, the thing where she breaks the steam vent and blinds her eye. Again, something like I didn't remember this in the episode, but how do you actually take a Jedi who we've been told is supposed to be one of those powerful ones, who is probably one of the coolest, most competent Jedi, and you put her at a disadvantage, have her half blinded in the episode. And it's a great, again, talk about the facial animation in this episode. It's a great visual. And then we have the line here where the soldier or whatever, this traitor guy is basically pep talking Ahsoka and saying, sometimes being a good soldier means doing what you think is right. So I love that he basically is trying to sabotage us, but he actually ends up in the way saving the day. Everybody accomplishes his mission. This guy helps Nute Gunray get away by basically manipulating Ahsoka, but by manipulating Ahsoka saves Luminara. So it's one of these weird things where it's like, hey, the Force allowed it to work out for the better in both ways here. I love this line here. Probably one of the most vicious lines in the episode is where Asajj Ventress says something about to Luminara. I wonder if you'll still be able to use the Force when I separate your head from your body, which is just vicious. Like, definitely not a PG type line that you're going to have here. And then we get this moment in their fight where it's something we've seen in the live action movies in Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin and Obi-Wan both try to do the Force push at the same time. And they're basically just, struggling to, neither of them's budging until they both just sort of get blown backwards. We see the same thing here with Luminara and Asajj Ventress. And then we have the reveal that this guy is a traitor after Ahsoka comes in for the save. The real this guy is a traitor, the guy with really bad animation. And then Nute Gunray gets saved by the traitor, Argus or whatever his name is. We get Ventress. Patric and I are kind of noticing how Asajj Ventress has the most epic escapes. Every time she escapes, it's like, wow, that is a cool move. I feel like they're topping it with each one here, because what she does here is she basically sets off a charge that sets off an explosion that blows her through this air vent. She explodes herself to freedom here, which is amazing. And then after this incredibly intense escape, we get the traitor commando guy, Nute Gunray, escaping in a cruiser, and Asajj Ventress very casually strolling into an escape pod after this huge escape where she just literally exploded a charge to fly herself halfway across the ship. And then she's just just walking this. It's so cool. And then the final part here where Ventress gets aboard the ship and this traitor guy's like, I'll put in a good word for you with Count Dooku. And she just stabs him through the chest. Like, again, this is why this aired at 10 o'clock here in Canada. Like, I don't know what time it aired on the Cartoon Network. Of course, the difference being, I'd mentioned to Patrick, this first season actually aired on network TV here in Canada. Like, this was our number one network, CTV, aired this on Sunday nights at 10 o'clock. This is why it's on at 10 o'clock, because the guy just got stabbed through the chest. And then we have, I guess this would be the play on the I have a bad feeling about line, where they say, I always had a good feeling about you. And they basically end this episode by setting up the next one, which is that, don't worry, Kit Fisto is in position to catch Nute Gunray. Patrick, thoughts on the Cloak of Darkness?
Yeah, Cloak of Darkness. I also, like I said before, like, I have put it in as him seducing the clones to be an ally with him. Like, there's no way that the guy is just like, oh, you could be a part of my army. I could give you good riches. Like, I'm rich. And so it's like, yeah, he's definitely seducing these clones to being a part of him. This is something really weird that I found in this episode, where we had the droid ship starting to attack. Like, they didn't get any cruisers. It was just this, like you said, this was like a spy mission. So we didn't get a bunch of droid ships coming in. It's just like a couple of vulture droids, and then these like boarding ships that don't think I've ever seen before. Seth, do you have any comment about those boarding ships? Like, I don't think I've ever seen those.
From what I can remember, it was like whenever the Separatists had boarded a Venator, one time they used super battle droids, and then there's this time using that. And I think that this was like a modified version of the Hunter slash like the area on the like these squid droids, from the Camino
yes.
assault.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's because it's like you saw how they spun and whatnot. So I think it's like some sort of modified version where they have like just a very low class hyperdrive. So it's like they don't need a cruiser to be deployed, and they're just like a quick invading force, overwhelm them with numbers and whatnot.
And either way, like, these things are, I kind of did like that makes a lot of sense. We're connected dots. We actually just covered the Clone Cadets, where we got those squid boarding ships as well. So that was really cool to see. Also, Colin, by the way, don't remember to unmute yourself before you talk. I don't know, it just came into me.
Okay.
Randomly.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that time. We also, what the droid 327, I think it was 327T. Is it just me or does he look like Rob from Super Smash Bros? Like I am like is this like a Rob like shout out? Like I haven't even like heard of Rob. I've never seen Rob before, but it's just a little thing that came to me that like he looks like Rob. Um I do like this whole fight with Luminara and Saj Ventress. It does look really cool, and like you said, you hit her exploiting the charges to not only dismantle Ahsoka from being able to catch her, but also just to have her be an advantage to shoot through the pipes. Um, and the final thing I'll add, this is how you do Ahsoka. Not what the Clone Wars movie did. This is how you do it. She is not. She is a little bit obnoxious, but not like to the extent that we got in the Clone Wars movie. And
Well,
I love that we got her in this like the way that she is. She still acts like a child, which is supposed to be what has happened because she has no idea what to do. She's trying to learn her way around the Force and learn her way around the Jedi ways. She's just not being a big like teenager about it. She's actually being a character that is growing and that is learning. And I think Luminara being here is actually a great benefit to her. Like I feel like Anakin is not that strict with a bunch of other stuff because he just goes around doing. Well, he is strict, but like he does have his own way of moving around and have his own way of attacking. But Luminara, she's very strict to the Jedi Order. Like, no, this is not what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to follow code. So having Luminara here actually helps her Ahsoka's character grow a little bit in like having both sides of okay, you have to learn to adapt versus you have to follow the Jedi Order in this way. And again, like she's not obnoxious in this episode. She is actually like, this is one of my favorite performances from Ahsoka in this season. Even though she still is a little bit obnoxious and is like a little bit of a teenager, like we said, she commented on Ventress being like bald or so. I forgot what the comment was, but still, like this is how you write Ahsoka. It's not how you write. It's not how you write her in the movie. The movie did a bad job. This is how you should have done it, and I am pissed that the movie didn't do it like this.
Okay, but in defense, when we meet Ahsoka, there is no influence Anakin. The point of this episode is that she is being Anakin. You are starting for the first time to see Anakin's influence on her. Because you're seeing Ahsoka from the first time from another Jedi Master's point of view, like, that might not be right. Where is she getting this from? So I agree with you. I think that it adds so much more complexity, but you couldn't have done this in the Clone Wars because you hadn't had that Anakin influence yet. But you are right. Now that we have that Anakin influence and they're playing up on it, one of the things that really made this episode great. Seth, thoughts on Cloak of Darkness?
Well, I mean, for Cloak of Darkness, it was like not to bash or whatnot. It was like I didn't really enjoy it, really.
Oh. So now, who's in the minority now? Who's in the minority?
Hey, Patrick.
Yeah.
Shut up. I'm talking.
This is the funny thing with it. Like, usually have the older siblings are the more dominant ones. It's
Hey,
like,
I am still dominant.
Patrick has a very domineering
right.
personality, but you will see the younger siblings like, no, not putting up with it, which is very similar to me and my younger sibling.
Okay, so now that you revealed that, why? Why do you not like this episode that much?
I mean, I don't know. It's just I felt like there was like some. Just it was like, oh, we gotta go save him, and it's like, oh, we saved him, yay!
Oh, so classic like, cartoon thing.
Yeah, but it was like I will say it was like the animation was good except for the one no-name person. I forgot his name already. But it was really good, and it's like how you guys were talking about how Nute Gunray was like trying to. I don't know why you guys thought he was trying to seduce the clones, but it's like when he said that, it was like when I was watching, I was like, I wonder what Gree was thinking of what he could do to this man, because he is a separatist and he's a clone and he follows orders. So I'm wondering about what all the thoughts he had in his mind to torture him and hurt him, like what he was thinking about and whatnot.
One thing I just want to add on what you said there. The one thing I'll say, I love this episode. Like, to me, this, like I said, at this point, this is a top 5 episode for me. But this was way too quick to resolve the Nute Gunray capture thing. One of the big surprises I think you had is that you didn't expect that these characters that are free at the end of Attack of the Clones and free at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, it never occurred to you we're going to actually have some of these characters who become prisoners throughout that
Yeah.
you could have Nute Gunray captured. We're about to get into Count Dooku getting captured in the next time we come back here, I think. But
Yeah.
this is something that you could have played this out until the third episode, I feel like, before having him basically be apprehended again. That would have been, I think, a better way to do this, because it is a little bit too quick of, well, he's there, we captured him, we saved him already, you know?
Yeah.
I do also, like, I agree. And I also want to actually make a comment about the no-name character that should not be named because he's a bad animated character. I actually do like him a lot. Like, besides the animated shit, of course. But his character is actually really interesting. It's actually, like, a little bit of a starter up to how the Republic is corrupted, how it's leaning a little bit more towards being an empire. It's one of those things where people are starting to now have the realizations like, okay, maybe this is not the right side that should be on. We should actually follow our own way. Which is like, again, like the twisted line about him being like, a soldier should know a soldier knows what the right thing to do in their heart. So it's like it's a little bit of a twisting to how the Republic is gonna come crashing down into this empire. And so I actually like this character, and now we get this little bit early on in season 1 of all seasons, and we get this little bit of a revelation, like, yeah, there's seeds being planted. It's not all like Happy Gilmore, happy, like for the Republic. There's still stuff going on behind the scenes, especially with some of these troopers and some of the other senators that we're going to get to later on.
Just before we move on to Lair of Grievous, one thing to add on that is that Dave Filoni and Henry Gilroy were talking about in the making of that they didn't want to go the route of having a clone be the traitor because, like, it's too early in the show to do that. And technically, we already had clone traitors, which the episodes wouldn't air for 2 more seasons, although chronologically they happen already. We covered that. But they're like, it was an interesting idea to be like, these Republic officers are corruptible, and let's show why they would lean towards clones and stuff like that. And, why, Sidious would need to have more control and everything. So yeah, it's an interesting idea. I just feel like work on the animation. It was definitely thrown at the last minute.
Yeah.
Lair of Grievous. So
this is my favorite episode of the arc.
So this is actually the one that I remembered liking the best out of this trilogy of episodes. And I still like this one. I just feel like I was so blown away by Cloak of Darkness. Going for the different themes here, we had the, old school fairy tale with Bombad Jedi. We had Assault on Precinct 13. This is basically an alien movie. I don't think either of you have seen the Alien movies. But
I've seen number 1.
And this one is very much like the first Alien movie. You're in a very confined space where there is something on the loose. You start out with basically Grievous is the one on the loose in here. They're trying to hunt Grievous, but then you also later on will have a monster hunting them. I saw a lot of similarities to Alien here, even just with the whole atmosphere and, lack of music, lack of sound, and just a lot of suspense here. Were you shaking your head as in you disagree, or?
No, I'm shaking my head as agreeing.
Oh, Seth, I mean.
Oh, Seth.
Patrick did the, slow clap.
Well, no, I'm like, I haven't
After...
watched Alien, so I was applauding you for being actually smart.
Okay, you check out the Alien movies.
I will.
And also, speaking about Alien, it was like, you remember the one creature with the 2 horns and whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
It was like that somewhat looked like a xenomorph and whatnot with the tail and whatnot. And it was like its appendages and whatnot. And it was like when I looked at it, I was like, that kind of looks like a xenomorph. I wonder if they just took a xenomorph and modified it.
And the funny thing is, I was seeing the Alien parallels before that creature was even introduced, and I forgot that creature was part of this episode. So when that threw in there, it's like, oh, they're definitely going for Alien in this one. Never confirmed on the making of, sadly. But our opening Jedi word of wisdom here: most powerful is he who controls his own power. Now, I thought the theme in this episode was really good, but I don't feel like it was sold. I think where this one takes a bit of a hit for me is the theme of this episode wasn't sold as well. It's sold better if you really watch these two back to back, because what this one is really about is we got Kit Fisto this time, and he's got his apprentice Nadar Veb, who has not been introduced prior to this, but Kit Fisto is a very familiar character because he smiled in Attack of the Clones. And that was one of those things where the animatronics people we can have this guy smile, and George was like, I like that. Let's have this guy smile. And he became like a phenomenon. I think of all the background characters that you see throughout the prequel movies, the one that people became most obsessed with was Kit Fisto because of that smile. He had the cool tentacles, he grinned. And the way that they actually worked that one smile in Attack of the Clones into being an entire character where he's constantly giggling. He's Gilligan. He's Gilligan is what he is.
Gilligan,
This is
Gilligan's Island.
yeah.
Great
But
reference.
he's constantly giggling, like, and they even talk about the making of. They're like, Kit Fisto's a guy who's kind of enjoying this war, not enjoying it like, oh, I love bloodshed and stuff like that. But he's like, I'm in my element. This is what I love to do. Like he's a fun-loving character. But we basically open with him giggling at his droid here, R6. And I was sort of mentioning last time how the droids, you have to be able to actually spell their names out with phonetically with the letters.
Yeah.
And this is the one where I'm like, no, you can't really spell R6. It doesn't work for me.
No.
But he basically has his apprentice, Nadar, who's already on the surface. And we get this cool moment when they do meet up again and they part the fog with the Force, which is really cool. Kit Fisto had appeared in the micro series. It was on Mon Calamari. It was an all underwater episode. I don't even know if Kit Fisto talked in that episode. But obviously, because we had the Mon Calamari, who are known to be like a water species with Admiral Akbar, it kind of makes sense that you would have another water-like species, Kit Fisto's the Nautilin, that these guys would be partnered up. Because the one thing I didn't mention with Luminara is that Luminara and Barriss Offee are the same species because there's some type of rule among their people that if you're ever going to train a child of the species, it has to be one of your own kind who trains them. I like this little thing they've thrown in here where it's like you take apprentices that are sort of similar to you in some ways, they're racially profiling these people. That's what they're doing. But we have them getting into this base here where they've gotten the distress call and they think they're sneaking up on Nute Gunray. Now, this is another thing where it's like this was definitely given away. Like, I don't think anybody watched this scene play out for 2 minutes and thought Nute Gunray was actually there. But the reveal is still so much fun after you get this big fight with the droids and everything. You still hear, did you take care of them? And all of a sudden it turns around, it's just a hologram of him. I expect the chair to turn around. There's nothing, but the fact you have the hologram of Nute Gunray there, they telegraphed it, but it's still a good punchline. I like that.
I do want to make a comment about that because I actually did not like that very much. Just
Really?
because because the audio distortion. Like, we have him like there, like supposedly there, like speaking like how you're supposed to be not in hologram form, and then we get him turn around and he's like suddenly like starts speaking like he is in hologram. Like something like I don't get it. I actually don't like it a lot. I feel like that it's like I get it that it would try to play on the Jedi, but it just doesn't make sense to me personally.
But I think what works about this from the audience's point of view, even though it's very clear he's not actually there, is that they're setting this up as if it's going to be a pre-recorded thing, right? Because Nute Gunray is not responding the way he should respond. And I think that's the one clever thing they did do with this is they're surprising the audience because the audience is expecting it's going to be like a pre-recorded message, but instead he's just on hologram. Seth, did you like this gag? Did you like the reveal? Did it surprise you?
I mean, it was like, I do feel it was like how Patrick was saying. It was like, oh, it was like he was speaking normally and then all of a sudden he spoke like he was in a hologram.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of weird and whatnot, but it was like, I feel like it was like exactly what you said. It was like, it was kind of a shock because it was like, did you get them and whatnot? And it was like if someone was actually there, I don't think someone would say that or whatnot, or even on a hologram.
So the rest of this episode, I actually have fewer notes on this one because it is just all about the mood and the atmosphere, but it just ends up being, we're sneaking around trying to find, where we are, and then Grievous is coming here. But I love this one little moment of levity they have in the episode with the droids in the middle of the fight here, where they say to themselves, like, have you ever killed a Jedi before? And it goes, no. And it's like, me neither. Like, they're obviously at that moment, that this is their self-realization moment. They're like, we're red shirts in this universe. Like people know what red shirt is in Star Trek. We're disposable. You can't kill a Jedi. That's kind of fun. But they go through this chamber room and you see all these weird statues. Now, anybody who had read the comics would recognize this immediately, that this is Grievous in his alien form. Now, having said that, the comic book series that was released about General Grievous at this point, about his backstory, was not canon. It was not established this is what it is. It was sort of like, oh, this is sort of a one-shot thing, and we're not saying this is officially what it was, but it was kind of this idea that he was this general and everything. So Dave Filoni and Henry Gilroy actually said they weren't crazy about the idea that had already been written about Grievous, that he was this defeated general that Count Dooku sort of allowed to live if he became this droid, because like Grievous doesn't seem like the guy who'd be subservient. Grievous seems like he's just as weaselly as anybody else. So they went to George Lucas and they said, we're having trouble with General Grievous here. What is his backstory? And George Lucas is like, General Grievous's backstory is essentially that he wanted to be a Jedi, but he wasn't Force sensitive. And he resented the fact that he thought he could be this great knight and save everybody because he had all the physical skills, but didn't have the Force. So it actually made him resent and turn on the Jedi, which is why he collects the lightsabers. So that kind of became the rewritten story of Grievous here. But the idea that he was an alien who became a droid, they still kept it. And these statues you're seeing is him in that form. So it's not until they get to the trophy room where you see all these lightsabers, like, wait, this is General Grievous's lair. And that's kind of the other thing. It's the idea that General Grievous has some underground bunker somewhere, where he goes and he stores these things. It's not something you would necessarily think about.
Yeah.
We get the fight scene here when Grievous eventually arrives. But I love, again, just how this is like a monster movie like Alien, where they say to themselves, like, are we the bait for Grievous, or is Grievous the bait for us? Because they don't know what's Dooku's motive here. And that's the other thing that really works in this episode is like, what is Dooku up to here? During the fight scene, Grievous's legs get cut out from under him. Both of you, have you seen the micro series about the Clone Wars?
I've watched a couple episodes. I did watch the Grievous one. That one was fantastic. I loved the Grievous one.
Seth, did you see that?
Is it like the more cartoony animation?
Yeah, the one that preceded this.
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's fantastic. They're all standalone episodes, but they're like 5-minute long episodes for the most part. But what they did was they had the first season, which was broken into 2 parts, and this was all in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And it was heavily publicized. Everybody knew General Grievous was going to be the new villain in Star Wars, and that they even had designs leaked of him. But it was heavily publicized. Like, if you want to see General Grievous, we're going to reveal the character on the finale of the Clone Wars season 1, the original Clone Wars series. And that was like the only one I think came close to 10 minutes. And I remember seeing that for the first time, and you didn't think like this guy's going to have this many limbs and have all these extra lightsabers to just be crazy. But they really do allow him as I guess an action character to stand up in the battle here, but still have that fun idea of the legs getting cut off, which sets up the other cool thing in this episode, which is that we see how he gets repaired, which is this little droid, Dr. Droid here. Now, Matthew Wood is the voice of General Grievous, who we've already talked about in here. He is the supervising sound effects editor on the Star Wars movies, who secretly auditioned when Gary Oldman had to drop out of Revenge of the Sith. He secretly auditioned and sent in his voice, and they ended up going with him, not realizing this is the guy who already runs our sound effects editing. The other guy who works with him as the sound designer on the Clone Wars series, I can't remember what his name is here. I'll have to look it up, but he's the voice of the Doctor. They're like, well, if Matthew was doing this, then David Accord. So he's the sound designer for the Clone Wars animated series, and he does this Dr. Droid character, which he actually says he modeled the voice after a comedian named Paul Lynde, who was like a 70s guy. I only knew him because I used to watch, like, when the Game Show Network became a thing, they'd show all the old reruns of 70s game shows. And I think it was Hollywood Squares and stuff like that. He'd always appear on it. But he's like a very flamboyant type of comedian, and he's basically doing an impression of him here. It's such a funny, because I think he gets so caught up in droids all talk robotic and everything, and you don't realize like C-3PO has a very distinct personality. So we get another snotty character here, the snotty Dr. Droid. And I love just the idea that like the Doctor isn't afraid of Grievous because Grievous is relying on him. If this droid's not around, who's going to fix Grievous up? And then we get this other moment, which is actually kind of a disturbing moment when he's repairing him. And he says, you may experience a little bit of discomfort here as he's pulling the faceplate off. And you actually get Grievous wincing in pain for probably the first time ever. We get the bodyguard droids that get activated here. We get them taking out the shuttle with like their giant bazooka. We have R6, the droid, kind of fleeing with the ship. Then we get Nadar's story, which really gets set up here. Kit Fisto's former apprentice, who he's the one who has a bad feeling about things here. And then they talk about it as like, I have a feeling there's worse things here than General Grievous. And then Kit Fisto's like, I think you might be right about that. And then we get this monster creature, like the xenomorph, like you were mentioning. The other cool thing, I think, as far as Luminara's animation goes, this is almost the opposite. They didn't want this to look good. They wanted this to have like that stop motion like movement. And it looks great for this show, but it has the way that you see the Rancor move, in certain parts of the original trilogy, or other things that were done with like stop motion animation. that it kind of has that weird, I don't know what we call it, like a jerky movement to it, which I'm like, that's really clever that they're animating this creature to look like the way some animation looked in the original Star Wars movies. Just the fact that there's this monster that Grievous has kind of made into his pet is fantastic. And then now you have this episode, which is sort of about Grievous is stalking us, or we're stalking Grievous, and now this monster is stalking all of us. The Doctor has this great line that I use in my open quote here. Contrary to your belief, I do have other things to do here. We have Kit Fisto does the thing to take out this monster in the end, which I don't know if either of you noticed is the same move Obi-Wan uses to take out, I think it's the Acklay in Attack of the Clones.
I noticed that.
Yeah, he does like the lightsaber spin into the double-handed stab, basically
and then
right
the
out of
creature screams.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing from Attack of the Clones here. And then we get this thing about Nadar saying he wants revenge, which Kit Fisto advised him against. Nadar basically goes down in this episode, and this is the one thing that I'm like, I'm torn on this because I feel like this was the theme of the episode, that Jedi are starting to get corrupted. But I don't feel like this was effective. I can see where they were going with it. They wanted to take this idea that, like, the Jedi have operated for 1,000 years as peacekeepers. They've never really been pushed to their limits. What happens when you take the Jedi, who are supposed to be all good, all knowing, all peaceful, and then you put them in a scenario where it's like, you are in the middle of war. It's like soldiers, neither of you watch the show, and I get laughed at by my other co-hosts of actually being a huge fan of the show Downton Abbey, okay? Is anybody laughing at me yet, or are you not familiar with the show?
I don't know the show.
I don't know the show.
It's like a turn of the century British soap opera, I guess you call it. It's basically a rich family and their servants. But it's a very popular show, a lot better than I think most people give it credit for. Jamie and I became obsessed with this show a couple years ago, but we're just rewatching it. They're in the middle of seasons that take place during World War I, and there's a character who is on the show who's so, I guess, shooken up from having been on the front lines that he starts having all these flashbacks and basically breaking out into sweats and fainting and stuff like that. And you realize, like, even the best characters, that's kind of the point, even the best characters, it could become too much for them. And in this case, Nadar's character is meant to represent the fact it's like he's going berserk because the war's doing that, and he's probably not the only Jedi is doing that too. But it's too glossed over in this, and that's what I really wanted more of. I wanted this to really hit heavy on that theme of the war will do things. And then this is why I said following it up where I'm torn, following it up on the Ahsoka thing, where it's like Ahsoka's going angry with the whole Anakin thing, and it's like, and there is a place for that sometimes, but Nadar is kind of the opposite of that, where it's like, I can't handle this. Kit Fisto doesn't really help matters here by basically saying, like, well, he was wrong, and I'm going to sell him. I'm going to talk to the Jedi Council and the other. I apologize on behalf of my previous apprentice. Have a scene where they're like, we might expect more of this from other Jedi. Like, I don't know if we've equipped them for a war like this. But we get the moment where Kit Fisto cuts the head off of the Doctor, so I guess nobody repairs Grievous from now on. Although Dave Filoni did bring up in the making of, C-3PO gets his head cut off in multiple movies, and he continues to operate. He thinks the idea is that Grievous would literally pick up this head and just carry it around and say, all right, tell me what I have to do to fix myself. It's never confirmed, but that's something that they say. With this final Kit Fisto fight with General Grievous, though, with the guards in the middle of the fog is so great, because you have, like, the lightsabers, and you actually have them when Kit Fisto slowly disappears backwards into the fog, which just looks incredible. And then R6 comes to the rescue. The theme going all the way back to Bombad Jedi. It's like the droids are going to save the day at the end. R6 comes in the save the day in the end. This is totally lifted from Back to the Future too, though. Tell me I'm mistaken. Where R6 shows up, Kit Fisto gives his smile, and then he does the backflip right on the ship. This is Marty McFly on the roof of Biff's palace.
Oh, yeah.
And Biff's got the gun on him, and he takes a step off and falls. It's totally that. I'm calling that. And then, yeah, we just have this final scene in the end with Kit Fisto saying, oh, there's room for improvement or whatever. But basically selling out Nadar, when I don't think Nadar did anything wrong in this episode. I think that's the theme that's missed here. But the episode's still really strong. I feel like, for me, the only thing that's missing is that Nadar dilemma, I think, could have been done a little bit harder. Patric, thoughts?
I got a little bit of thoughts about Nadar. I'm actually going to mention two other things before we get to my thoughts about Nadar. I think you mentioned it with the banter of the droids, like, have you killed a Jedi before? No, me neither. So I love that banter a little bit. And then, like, I love the fact that we get a banter between Grievous and Dooku being like, oh, you failed me for a bunch of times, and Sidious wants to test you. And so Dooku is setting up this test to see, where's Grievous in all this? Is he actually going to pass it? So I actually do like that Dooku has initiated this little little test for Grievous, and end up seeing where Grievous finds out that, oh, it was you that shut off all my droids. It was you that led all the Jedi here. So I'm now more thinking that maybe this whole Nute Gunray thing was to set up this fact of with Grievous to try and make him have him be into the test. It's a
Give
little
us
bit
some
of a long
dilemma.
shot.
Yeah.
It's a long shot, but I do believe that this is a Grievous. Dooku's playing at least a little bit of a part with the Nute Gunray stuff, getting him captured and having him brought to Grievous's planet. And now to Nadar. I don't know what it was about me, but I love the side Jedi characters. Like, I loved Barriss Offee when she came out.
Yeah.
I loved Kiana Mundi. I liked
Said the
Luminara.
name wrong.
Whatever.
Close enough.
I liked Luminara. Not as much as you, but I do like her a lot. I especially like Plo Koon. But there was something about Nadar that I just, like, as a kid, like, I had no idea that I actually liked it that much. And I don't even know why. Like, he was just a cool character for me, and just having him be like, I guess he was also like a little bit rebellious, just the fact that you were just talking about, like, yeah, like maybe we should actually be using our power to be taking down our enemies, but the Jedi
He's a knight. Like, it's funny. Like,
he's a knight, yeah.
He's a knight, not a master yet. And I think that's something that is not really explored that much in Star Wars. That there's these levels. You have an apprentice, then you have you're a knight, and then you're a master. The masters are the ones we always see. We don't often see those Jedi Knights that are kind of caught in the middle.
Yeah. And then there's also something else to this as well, because we have also Grievous in the mix of this and being like, okay, we've seen him like kind of in Malevolence, like he's not that like we're not like that freaked out, but then we get this episode and it's like, okay, now I'm really terrified of Grievous. Like he just took down the whole army that we got, and he even took down a Jedi Knight, well, recently turned Jedi Knight, which is really like a little bit of a test to like Grievous being like, okay, he's actually really scary. We should actually get him captured, which is going to be the whole point of the Clone Wars. Basically, it's just to get Grievous kidnapped and a bunch of other people that are going to be kidnapped. But Grievous is going to be the main one that it's going to be like, oh, if we get him captured, we can actually end this war sooner than we thought. So having this episode lead up more to his power and what he can do is actually pretty smart by the team to actually put this episode in here. And just the fact that we get this lair that we get to explore a little bit, like what you're talking about with the background of his character, it doesn't do much because it doesn't really explain a lot, but it's definitely something that appeases the Star Wars fans. Seth, what did you think about Lair of Grevious? Is this your favorite from this little trilogy of episodes here, or what'd you think?
Honestly, not gonna lie, I like Bombad Jedi the best.
Nice.
Are you kidding me? Okay,
I applaud you.
Why?
Thank you.
We have three very different opinions on this.
By the way, I will say this. This episode, I looked it up. It's the highest ranking episode on IMDb.
Yeah.
I don't know why you don't even like it that much. Like
I still like it.
Hey, Patrick.
Yeah. Shut up, I guess.
Yeah, there's people in your house that are trying to sleep. Let them sleep.
No, there's not. They're literally downstairs watching, I think, Friends, I think.
Oh, they might as well be sleeping then.
Exactly. Still,
anyway,
you
Seth,
should
what's
calm
your
down.
What's your opinion? I'm curious.
I was like, I do think that for my opinion, it was better than Cloak of Darkness. I was like, honestly, I was like looking at all the walls and whatnot. It kind of gave me an Indiana Jones vibe. And it's like all of the like a warrior and whatnot. And it's like, but it's like even when you were saying, Colin, it was like, yeah, how he was like a past warrior, and it's like he wanted to become a Jedi. He had absolutely everything but the Force. And it's like when you think about it, it's like that would lead a person down some dark paths and whatnot. And so I feel like there's like throughout the whole series, it's like they did Grievous good and whatnot. And then it was like also I'm pretty sure in that episode is the first time that we actually see Grievous pull out his 4 arms. Whereas right. In Malevolence, it was like he didn't really fight anyone. He was just on the bridge. And so it was like the first time it was like we actually saw what Grievous could do. And it was like how terrifying it would be to see 4 lightsabers twirling around. And like if you're just a solo knight with 1 lightsaber, like how scary would that be?
Well, we also have the arm as well. Like the way he kills Nidar, where he pulls out the arm and shoots him with the blaster, like that is just crazy. And like it also just proves like, yeah, he has those 4 lightsabers, he can actually be very dangerous, but he's actually a thinker now. Like he can strategize against you. Like he can pull out your weaknesses and actually use it to his advantage. So just to add to your point, like, yeah, he is scary. He is a real threat. And the fact that he got rejected and now he's going down this dark path is actually very dangerous for the Jedi. And I'll be honest, like the last 2 like generals that we've had for the Jedi, I feel like that they screwed up. Like I don't know if you watch, you probably watched the Tales of the Jedi, probably, right, Colin?
Yeah.
So we get the little bit of a Dooku's backstory, which, by the way, I love Tales of the Jedi. I would love to cover that one day, like as a one-off kind of thing. But like we get this awesome backstory of Dooku, and just I wish there was more. I wish there was like a whole season of Dooku, but we get this little backstory of him being like, okay, like we get the first episode, we get this planet of who I forget who the senator was, but it's the corrupt people, and then he just like Dooku's trying to point out like, yeah, you're actually abusing your people, and he like leans a little bit towards the dark side, but not that much. He's actually like realistic with what he's thinking. And so now the Jedi, they still don't see his Dooku, how Dooku's viewing life. We actually do get a little bit of that from Qui-Gon, because Qui-Gon is not on mind with the Jedi. That's why he doesn't have a seat in the council. That's why he's not as respected as some other knights, because he doesn't have the view as the other Jedi do, because he's thinking like Dooku a little bit here. So, and then we get Yaddle and him facing off, and then he feels like the Jedi has betrayed him. And so, yeah, we get the Jedi have actually been like doing more harm than good. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that Grievous was in this mix, I feel like that the Jedi were actually completely fair. But because they fumbled the bag with Grievous, I think that they have initiated this war from the beginning, and that they really have fumbled everything. I don't know. What do you think about that, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still too far removed from the idea of let's throw the Jedi under the bus, which has come later on. But they're toying with that idea here. You know, they're showing that there are flaws in their plan. You know, whether it was their own doing or not. So yeah, I could get behind that. Couple of little things to add here, just on the casting. The voice of Luminara is played by Olivia Dabo, who's actually a semi-famous actress. I think she's related to a former Bond girl. Look at this. She was,
of course, everything has to be about James Bond.
Well, it should be.
Although, 007, not for long.
007 eventually. She was once engaged to Julian Lennon, son of John Lennon. I actually know her because I was looking it up. I'm like, she was on the TV series The Wonder Years, which was a TV show from like the early 90s where she played like the older sister on it, kind of in and out the show. Actually made her screen debut in Conan the Destroyer. One of the main characters starring alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger, and has continued to voice Luminara throughout the course of Star Wars. Luminara does factor in on Rebels later on, where we will find out. She's one of the few characters that you do get a little bit more of, because she, along with Shaak Ti, her death scene was cut from Revenge of the Sith. We talk about Shaak Ti's death scene being cut from Revenge of the Sith. She's, of course, last seen on Kashyyyk before we get introduced to Yoda. So we know she ends up there. But what happens to her character afterwards is explored on Rebels later on. But Olivia Dabo did come back to voice Luminara in The Rise of Skywalker alongside many other Star Wars actors that Rey hears the voices of, which should have been done in live action, I'm still saying.
And then, I mean, that Skywalker movie like clearly fumbled everything. So
the other one, Phil Lamar, who is the voice of Kit Fisto in this, very famous voice actor. He also does the voice of Bail Organa throughout the Star Wars here. He's the voice of Samurai Jack, a show I've never seen, but I know that is a very popular show, and the voice of Hermes on Futurama, which I think most people would know. He also is a comedian and actor in real life. He appeared on Mad TV for something like 5 or 6 seasons. And anybody who's seen the movie Pulp Fiction, one of the greatest movies ever made.
I actually just watched that recently.
Oh, yes.
I watched it recently.
Did you like it?
It was okay. Like
Oh,
I'm a little bit confused because just with the way that they did this movie shot. Like I
that's
know
Quentin
it.
Tarantino style. Yeah.
I know it's Quentin Tarantino style and that it was against Hollywood standards and the fact that they won is crazy, but I just it wasn't my kind of movie, but the acting was phenomenal by
It's
every single person. Like I could not find a
well,
bad actor in that movie.
he is Marvin who gets his head blown off.
Oh,
Well, technically his
okay.
face. Oh, I shot Marvin in the face. He's the guy who gets his face shot off in Pulp Fiction. So yeah, I'm Phil Lamar. We're gonna be hearing a lot more from because I think we may have even heard from him as Bail Organa at this point, but he hasn't had like a full story centered on him yet. But before we get into ratings, Patrick, you want to cover any plot keywords really quickly?
Yep, we'll get to some plot keywords. We got 6.0 for Bombad Jedi on IMDb, one of the probably the lowest
I
rating
think
that
it's the
we've
lowest from
gotten
season one.
for season one. Yep. We got a couple here. Where was my other one? I think I had. Okay. We have Swamp. Swamp is one of the plot keywords from this episode. I'll just go through two because, or at least two or three. Number one, True Detective.
Oh, great show.
Number two, X. 2022 movie. Number three, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and number four, The Departed.
Oh, The
Um,
Departed. Where's the swamp in The Departed?
I
By the way,
tell
The
me.
Departed, I love the movie The Departed. But having said that, if anybody really wants to see the better version of that, watch Infernal Affairs, the Hong Kong crime film that The Departed was based on. One of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. And The Departed basically just reshot it with English language actors. But I don't remember Swamp in The Departed. What else you got?
I got attacked from behind. That was another plot keyword for this one. Hereditary. I don't even know what that.
Hereditary.
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 Helps.
2018. Yeah, I can't pronounce apparently. Get Out. Number two. Number
Oh,
three. The knockoff Casino Royale, and because we talked about that last week.
yeah.
About 2 weeks ago. Sorry. And then Knock Knock as number four. Don't even. That's not even that funny. Cloak of Darkness. 7.9 on IMDb. We got one here called it's Betrayal as one of the plot keywords, obviously. Invincible. By the way, I don't know if anybody has ever watched like the season four. It's the season the new season of Invincible. Amazing,
Haven't
great
seen any of
show.
it.
I love. You should definitely watch Invincible if you are. I know you're kind of a little bit sick of the superhero genre, but watch Invincible, and it goes against everything that the
I
superhero genre stands for. It is an amazing show, arguably better than The Boys, in my opinion. But
I
it is a
do
great
have the
show.
like I have the first I don't know what would be first 6 or 7 issues of that I read before the show was even a thing. So I was familiar with it. It's one of these things I'd be willing to check out because I was a fan of the comic, but just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the future, maybe we might make that as a recap. I don't know.
There you go. Maybe.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. I have some ideas of what we want to do. Number two, Game of Thrones. Number three, Black Bag, and number two, Attack on Titan.
Oh,
And
Black Bag, brand new movie just came out. Best movie I've seen all year so far.
seriously,
Yeah.
okay, well that's a pretty good start, I guess. And then honorable mention, two honorable mentions. Number one, stupid Captain America: Brave New World never
Uh,
leaves my sight. And then number six, Craven the Hunter never also leaves my sight. Stupid Craven the Hunter, I hate it. Cunning is another plot keyword of this episode. If it loads up, number one, Game of Thrones is back. Number two, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Number three, The Expense, and then number four, The Fifth Element. So that's your plot keywords if you ever want to go into if search up movies with cunning in it. Lair of Grievous, as I was alluding to before, this is the highest ranking episode in IMDb. For the season, it's an 8.1. And we got some plot keywords. Legs chopped up. That's a plot keyword. Number one, Kill Bill Volume 1. Which,
nah,
by the way, I still have to see Kill Bill Volume 1, Ben. I've been
don't
waiting.
bother. Don't bother.
Number two, Prey. It's it's not the TV show. It's actually the movie.
That's the Predator spinoff, I think.
Okay. Well, I thought the Prey was a TV show, the Predator spinoff, because it's this.
No, it's a movie.
Okay, it's a
Yep.
movie. Okay, I thought it was a TV show for some reason.
There's another show called Prey, so you're not technically wrong.
Okay. Too many praise around in this world. Number three, The Green Inferno, and number four, Cannibal Holocaust.
Huh.
Rambo Last Blood as an honorable mention for number five.
That's an
Um,
underrated Rambo movie.
Yeah, I have actually never seen it before. Um,
Wait, your other uncle didn't make you guys watch the Rambo movies?
no, we were too young. What do you think? Like,
Oh, you're not too
well,
young now?
I know we're not too young now, but what, do you want us to go knock at his door and take everything out of him? Like,
Sure.
Test, that's the only one that's actually like reasonably okay because everything else is just Star Wars reference. Number one, Oppenheimer. Number two, Dune Part One. Number three, Blade Runner from 1982, and number four, Life. But yeah, that's our plot keywords for this little introduction here. I am low buying this thing. I just have
Mm.
to check where I ranked it. Yeah, I think I'm low. I'm definitely low buying this. I put this as number 4 on my list. I just ranked it above Toydaria, so it goes Domino Squad, Christophus, Malevolence, and then Nute Gunray, Toydaria, movie, and then R2D2 Lost. So that's my rankings right now, and I'm low buying this just because Bombad Jedi kind of lowers it down for me, but the last 2 episodes
Hey.
are really good, and I do really appreciate it.
So this is going to be kind of unusual because I actually originally had this ranked fifth, but simply going through these, the reason I had this ranked fifth originally and I had it as a rent was because I thought these are so wildly different as episodes that they have one connecting story, but they're all standalone episodes. I actually feel like there are some things, particularly the Ahsoka and Nadar thing, that tie these together quite well. And I think that all these episodes work slightly better than they should on paper. So I'm basically going to be with you. This is number 4 for me, just ahead of Toydaria. And it is a buy for me as well. So my top right now is still Malevolence trilogy, Christoph's is number 2, Domino Squad
As
number
it should.
3, and then the Nute Gunray one after that.
So
Um,
basically, for us right now, we're just mixing up our Domino Squad, Christophus, and Malevolence. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Seth, you haven't ranked all these yet. They can be an assignment for you later down the road if you want. But
Yeah.
what's your
what's your
ranking?
rating of this? You got to buy it, rent it, or bin it?
Uh, I mean, I would probably rent it because like it's not the best like out of the series, but it's like it's not the worst.
Okay.
I think that Bombad Jedi is a very underrated episode, and I'm
Yes.
glad to have at least one person on here who will. But
Hey,
even you, Patrick,
I said that it was a good, like, I said it was a good, fun,
yeah,
Jar Jar Binks bashing episode. I'm just not in favor of calling it like an actual good episode.
it's good for what it is, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's good relief at this point in the
Yeah.
series. The next thing, just as homework for what we're gonna have coming up on Clone Wars in another 2 weeks, is
Hondo,
the
Hondo,
the
Hondo.
Pirates arc. So we're gonna be getting
Yeah.
Hondo. Well, probably one of, I guess, no, I was gonna say Cad Bane comes in, I think, in the last episode this season.
Yeah, he would come in with the holocron.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So
Holocron, blah 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 blah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say Hondo was the big breakout character from season 1 until
Yeah,
Cad Bane stole all
absolutely.
the glory. Now having said that, these 2 episodes, Dooku captured and the Gungan General, which chronologically the next ones take place.
Oh,
Episodes 11 and
right,
12.
another Jar Jar again.
Well, but you know what? The next Jar Jar episode is actually quite well received. The Gungan General is probably the best received Jar Jar episode that the show had. I don't know how these 2 work together. I'm familiar with both episodes. I feel like I'm a bigger I won't say which one. I'm a bigger fan than one over the other.
It better
But I'll
not
kind
be
of
the
have
Jar
to
Jar episode.
I'll have to reserve judgment on how this works in the series until we get there.
Ah.
Um, Seth, any fond memories of the Pirates arc? You looking forward to this one?
I mean, yeah, I was like always love to go to see Hondo for the first time. That old good old sleazy scumbag.
Yeah. Before we wrap up here, I do want to get some quick reactions. Number one, we have CinemaCon coming up this weekend. We have Sony actually doing a presentation, and apparently Spider-Man is going to make a reference. So look forward to hopefully Spider-Man 4 being announced. I haven't had anything that revealed the title yet, but apparently it might be revealed today. So look out for that. And then I do want to briefly mention the Doomsday live stream. I don't know if any of you guys tuned into it, but I honestly loved it. I love that we're getting an X-Men versus Avengers movie. It's gonna be epic.
Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing.
This is dating when we record this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know it's dating, but I've never like really like had some. I know we
They
had
are
some loose conversations
lacking-
about it, but
they are lacking some star power there. They
well, like it. Okay, well, this is the thing. Okay, they're only ranking like if you read like the leaks and all that, they're only revealing the people that are ready to film. So they have like Tom Holland everyone else, they're all waiting.
All
for
the ones
contracts
people
to
would be
signed.
interested to see.
Yeah, but what about the X-Men? We got James Martin back.
I'll say, no,
we
I'm excited.
coming back.
But
Channing Tatum is coming back. Like, that's exciting.
This is why Marvel is in the dumps, because the only thing people get excited about anymore are the things from other studios' properties. They get excited about seeing Fox's X-Men again. They get excited about seeing Blade and Elektra again. They get excited about seeing Deadpool, who was not even part of the MCU up until now. They get excited for seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They can't get people excited about their own properties anymore.
Well, here's the thing, though. It actually kind of works, because the original, I don't remember if it was the old 1980s Secret Wars or the 2013, but it was pitting against the Avengers of the 616 universe and the Ultimate Avengers Alliance, which also had the comics running against each other, just running around the same time. This actually works. Instead of the Ultimate Alliance Avengers, where we have the Miles Morales and all that, we're getting the Fox X-Men, which I think is a brilliant way to introduce us to a new era of X-Men when we get to the Mutant Saga, while also bringing back people and ending their stories, because Professor X, let's be honest, probably going to be dead again. Ian McKellen, probably going to be dead again, but I am honestly really excited. I'm happy that they got Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart back. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited that we got Channing Tatum back. His performance in Deadpool Wolverine is just phenomenal, and I'm glad that he got to land the role. And it's just gonna be an amazing movie. I'm really excited that we get this little thing here where it's gonna be Avengers versus X-Men, and it's gonna be amazing. I'm really excited for it.
The ones who have not had an opportunity to wrap themselves up, like Rebecca Romijn as Mystique and James Marsden as Cyclops, those are ones to get excited about, because they didn't get their proper send-offs before, Yeah. Particularly James Marsden. I mean, he knew what he was signing up for. He was filming Superman Returns at the time they were making X-Men 3, so they really couldn't do much with them in X-Men 3. It wasn't through lack of trying. On that note, I guess at the time people are listening to this, we got How to Train Your Dragon, the live action movie coming out. And as well, we are about to start in the next couple days our Superman month of movies recaps leading up to the 2025 Superman coming out. So we're going to start with Superman the movie. Outside of Star Wars, my favorite film of all time, Superman the movie. I'm going to have so many fun stories to talk about on this one.
Probably going to be a 4-hour episode, probably?
I'm going to try to keep it short because I always have kids to put to bed. I said
I'm expecting at least 2 hours, at least.
When I ended one of my previous podcasts, the Oz Network, one of the last things we did before we signed off says, what are some of the things you wish we could have covered? And the first thing I said was Superman the movie. So that's how you brought me into this. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to have the Pirates arc with Dooku captured and Gungan General. So get ready to listen to those. And until next time, my name is Colin, and I'm going to gut you like Rokarian Dirtfish.
And my name is Patrick, and call it, you webfoot. You're ruining my reputation.
And my name is Seth, and you are either the bravest or the most foolish Jedi I have ever met.
Thank you for listening to the new episode of Cantina Cuisine. Make sure you follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to listen to new episodes coming out every week just for you. Also, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates and follow-ups to our episodes and other content that you might like. Again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Peace out, nerds.